Hi, hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day to you wherever you are. How are you doing? Hello, intentional parents, adults who are planning to be intentional parents. Um, welcome, welcome online. Thank you for joining me this evening. There is so much to say. There's so much to say. Welcome. Thank you, babe. Welcome. Thank you for joining in. How are you doing? How have you been since the last time we spoke? How have things been? I hope you've if you haven't seen the previous sessions, we had Mr. Kindaudu, who spoke with us about what parents need to know, right, when raising their children. He spoke with us and he shared so much. So you need to find that what's it called now? This is bright. Okay. You need to find that recording. Yes, recording and watch and learn and listen. Right. Last week we had Dr. Akionla. We spoke about self-esteem and girls. It was very, very impactful. And today we'll be looking at family values. Okay, we'll be exploring the idea of family values, right? So, what they are, why we should consider them, and how we can use family values to our advantage. So I'm just going to give it a minute. Let's have a few more people join us so that we can continue. So where is everybody? I'm curious. Okay. Let me not say what I'm suspecting. Or should I say it? Let me not say what I'm suspecting. But okay. I suppose we'll watch sometime later. Right? Okay, let's move along. All right, family values. What are family values? What are values, right? Let's pick it up from what values are. Values are a guiding principle, a code you live by. Values are a set of character attributes that a person lives by. So if we take it down to family values, then character attributes that a family would have represent them. Okay, how they live. It's a guiding principle. Okay, it's a set of rules of character attributes that a family would live by. So if I mention some names now, their families are known for certain things. Okay, whether it is service. Let's do positives today. Whether it is service, whether it is public service, whether it is medicine, the helps ministry, and all of that. And some are known for not positive things as well. So it shows that whether it is clearly stated or not, a family tends to have a set of principles, a set of character attributes that they live by, right, at every point in time, or they are known for at the end of the day. So what I like to say is, as a parent, visualize your family in 30 years. What do you want your family to be known for? As a parent, as an individual, someone who is raising a family, a man or a woman, you have children, what do you want your family to be known for? What do you want your family to represent? So that is what I think should guide us in the selection of family values, right? And what values are you consciously, are you being careful to intentionally pass on to your children? These things are important, and we agree. I expect that by now you agree with me that it's important to take the future, the grown-up version of our children into consideration in our day-to-day choices. That's what intentional parenting is. So we take notes, we are aware, we are conscious of the adult form of these children, and then we do the work now so that we don't do it later. 1, 2, we understand that what we do and or don't do have consequences on these children. These actions, these choices have consequences. So today we're looking at values. What values are you intentionally putting in your children? What things are they doing that will make you say, no, don't do that? It goes against our values, right? What things are they saying? How are they acting? What is their perspective to things that is a cause of concern for you? And you're going to make a plan to say, okay, I'm going to work on this particular aspect in this child. Let's say your child, this value now is important to you. Let's say politeness is important to you, and you find out that you have a child who is not careful or cautious to be polite to people, who is flippant with people. And as a parent, because that value is important to you, then you take steps in a particular direction. Whether you want to show a better example, whether you want to consciously bring them back when they've done something that is not okay. You want to make sure that every time that this child acts out in an impolite manner, you call the child back and you say, no, apologize for this and take notes, don't do this next time. And you make sure you repeat this lesson as often, we're talking about children, as often as you have to, till you find that changes and this child has been set in this regard. This value has been deposited successfully in this child. That's when you know your work is done. So what values are you putting in your child? As a parent, as an intentional parent, you understand that you yourself, you're an ancestor. I called you an ancestor. Yes, you're an ancestor because you have the opportunity to create a new lineage of people who do things a certain way, who see things from a certain perspective, who are able to care for others if it's important to you, which I expect that it should be important to you, right? So you have an opportunity because you're an ancestor. You are a role model. That's who you are. They look up to you. You want your children, after you have passed on, to remember you and remember these things that you have taught them. I read on social media the other day about a lady who was referring to her father giving her the culture of reading. And she spoke, the man is still alive, right? But she spoke about him like though this is something she wants to pass on to her children. Now, that is amazing. That is not exactly a value, but that is something that her father has given to her that she wants to pass on, right? So she wants to make sure that she's able to give the same culture to her children. So moving on now, if we talk about how, let's talk about why first. If we're going to talk about how, let's talk about why first. So why do we need to take notes or be aware or conscious of family values? Like I said, you're an ancestor. You have a responsibility. You have a child. You have a life in your hands, right? So you want to be able to say, this is what after doing so and so, my work has been done. So you have a list of character attributes. I'm going to show you our family values. We have a list of values. Now you want to take your dictionary so that you are not repetitive and so that you're able to cover as much of a wide area as possible. So you want to look for words that represent you, that even if they don't currently represent you, words that you hope that will represent your family at the end of, I like to use 30 years. I don't know if you've noticed, but in 30 years, I'm looking at your fully formed adult, a 30-year-old child of yours. What attributes are you putting in them, right? So that is one of the reasons why we need to look at family values. Also, like I said, you have an opportunity to create a new, not world order now, a new family order in your own family. You want to inject, right? You want to inject children, people into society who will make society better. not people who will give the rest of us problems, right? There are some people now that are giving us problems. I don't want to mention them. Okay? There are some people who are making choices, who are in positions of authority, who are presidents, who are public officials, right? Public office holders who are giving the rest of us problems. They were raised by somebody. If I mention somebody like, okay, positive again, Pastor Adeboye, for instance, there's something that comes to mind. Well, for me, and I think for a majority of people, when you hear Pastor Adeboye, you kind of almost hear humility, right? There's a way he carries himself. He's very reserved. He's humble. He's not showy. It's his character. It's not. This is not about good or bad. Okay, it's just the person that he is. I think somebody puts in those attributes into him. Yes. So, what do you want your own child to represent as a parent? That is the question that we're dealing with today. And another reason for why is if you have a list of attributes that you want your family to be known by, because you're a member of that family, then it keeps you in check. As a member of that family, you have a responsibility, if you don't want to be a hypocrite, to abide by those rules yourself. So it keeps you in check. So if you say honesty is your family value, you're a member of the family, then you have a responsibility to be honest. If you say politeness, if you say kindness is a family value, then you have to be kind to people, to members of the family, because the children that we have now, they will remind us that kindness is not is a family value, but you're not being kind right now. Let me share a quick story about my son. He had done something wrong, and I asked him, "Hi, Efe, welcome." He had done something wrong, and I had told him the consequence of something he had done, right? And the next thing he said to me was, "Mommy, you're not being forgiving because forgiveness is one of our family values. Mommy, you're not being forgiving right now." And I said, "Oh, this guy is turning family values that I and my husband put together be turning it around to use it on me." But it was instructive for me. It was funny, but I wasn't offended by it, because for him to remember that forgiveness is a family value, that means it is guiding him somehow, even if I need to call his attention, right? Because having family values is a useful tool for discipline, rather than shout and raise your voice and tear down the house. You point the child in the direction of where the family values are, and you ask the child, this behavior that you just exhibited, is it one of our family values? And you let the child decide. You can have the child write an essay. These are things to keep children in one place for some time, even if it's 30 minutes. At least you know in 30 minutes, in a window of 30 minutes, you know where to find this child. So this thing that you have done, can you write for me why you did it, why you should not have done it, and how it contravenes our family value? Very, very simple assignment, but it will take their time and it will require them to think. And as they think about it, as the thoughts are within them, then it begins to take root and take effect, and you begin to see it in their actions. I've seen it work for us. So I'm not talking because it's just theory. It is an experience that I have had, having our family values and having the children be aware of them and reminding them of the family values, right? So it's a useful tool for discipline. It keeps you in check. It's an opportunity for you to be guided by it. So you can't go against the family values if you're not a hypocrite, which I don't expect you to be, because you're an intentional parent and you're a role model, Shebi. So you are trying to follow those lines. You're trying to show your children a good example. So when you forget, they can remind you. If telling the truth is a family value, then if you say, tell the person at the door that I'm not at home, then your child can say, but daddy, but mommy, this is not one of our family values. And you can quickly adjust yourself, because we are not perfect. We make mistakes. Okay? Let's say one day you just shout and they say, no, politeness is a family value. What you did is not polite. You apologize quickly and you move on and everybody just, keeps quiet about it. We don't dwell on the things that mommy and daddy does. It's when the children do something that we go on and on about it. But they are able to remind you, and you're able to remind yourself, right? And something else that having clearly stated family values will do for you is when you have guests in your home. If they enter your home and I will tell you how you will do that. They are immediately informed that this is your family value. So let's say cleanliness is a family value. The person is staying in your guest room. Your family values are staring at the person. The person sees cleanliness. Chances that the person will be nudged in the direction of keeping your bedroom, your guest room, the bathroom, and all of that clean. They are aware. If politeness is a family value, if honesty is a family value, then they are immediately notified that this is how we do things in this house. This is how things are done. And then they take them seriously because you're not saying it all the time. You can even just point at it and have the person realize that, okay, you're contravening a family value. And we don't do that here. We don't do this thing that you're doing here. Something my sons did the other day, I was quite impressed by. They had their cousins over, and their little cousins entered their room, and the first thing my older son did was, okay, so there are rules. He was trying to lord it over them, but he remembered, right? And that's the whole point of this training that we are doing, this parenting thing that we're doing. What's the point of teaching a child this is the way to do things, and child doesn't remember after you've said it? So it told me that I have communicated, I've so successfully communicated that to the child. Will he forget? Possibly. Will he ignore? Possibly. But he's also aware that there are consequences. Okay, so if he willfully ignores, the consequence comes and there is no noise. He's aware of what he did, and the consequence matches the offense. So everybody is not necessarily happy, but everybody is okay with the outcome. So his first words were, so there are rules. We don't do this on the bed. We don't do this here. We don't put this there. So please abide by the rules. And then he said that, and then he started to play. And I just smiled. I was amused and I was impressed at the same time. It tells me what I'm doing on a daily basis is working. What daddy says on a daily basis is working. Is entry, if you will. So let's think about it. Family values are important, and it's also important to clearly state them. So now we're going to how do you use family values to your advantage? You write it down. Like I said, use a dictionary. Pick values that are important to you. What do you want to see in your child as a fully grown adult? Orderliness, respect, love, service, all of those things. Write them down. Look for words that would encompass as many of those attributes as possible, because you also want to have a list that is short enough for you to remember. And what I would suggest is use words, arrange the words in such a way that it will form an acronym. So for us in our family, this is our family values. I don't know if you can see it. It's flipped on the screen, but I'm going to read it out. So we have this in every room in the house. Okay, we have this in our bedroom. We have it in our bedroom. We have it in the boys' room. We have it in the guest room. We have it in the living room. Yeah, we do. I think we have it in our bedroom. Yes, we do. So we have, because we wrote it, so we know it. I think we're feeling cold and we know it. But I think we have it in our bedroom. I'll need to check on that. But it's everywhere. It's in the living room. It's in a plaque, in a framed situation in the living room. You come into the house, it's one of the first few things that you see. So you are immediately informed. And these are our family values. And what we did was use the first letters to form glosses. And that's easy for you to remember. Okay? So you say, what are the family values? If your child can remember the first letters forming a word, then they're able to remember the attributes, the family values, right? So it is here, the Abayomi family values, glosses. So our family values are godliness, love and forgiveness. We squeezed in, we tried to to balance things a little bit and to squeeze as much as we could. Love and forgiveness, uprightness, continuous learning and improvement, excellence and service. So at every point in time, our aim is that if you see us, you see these things. We talk, you see these things. We act, you see these things. In our dressing, if excellence is there, then we look put together, we look organized, we look neat. It doesn't have to be expensive, is not what we're going for, but excellent, good quality, good quality. That's excellence. The measure of quality a measure of good quality in a thing is excellence. So good quality and godliness is important to us because we're Christians, to represent God. So godliness is our family value. Love and forgiveness is important to us. That forgiveness, we need it because we have young children. Because if you don't forgive your child, when they do another one, then you will be piling it. And it's not always easy because they can really test you. Okay, so love and forgiveness is a family value. Love is important to us, to express love to each other, to express love to other people, to represent love and embody it. Uprightness, obviously, it was going to be righteousness, but we felt uprightness was a bit broader because it is doing things in an orderly fashion, in a correct manner, obeying the law. So you won't find us breaking the law, at least not willfully. You won't find us with expired car papers, for instance. It's an abomination. It has never happened, right? We rather not drive the car rather than break the law, right? So we would try and follow the letter of the law. So that's where uprightness comes in. Now, continuous learning and improvement is also important to us because we are always we find that we're always yearning for knowledge. And we try to expose our children to this, so they have a vast knowledge base. Doing quizzes with my children is with our boys is always interesting because of the kind of things that they know. Okay, they know random stuff, Okay, so continuous learning, and then obviously whatever it is that they choose to learn, they have to put in their best, right? So we're growing, we're learning, we're getting better. So continuous learning and improvement is our family value. Excellence, like I said, and service is important to us. We give our time, we give ourselves selflessly, and we put in our best. So it's not even about giving yourself, doing your best while at it is also important. Okay, so these are family values. Now, do we always embody this? We try. But our goal is that at the end of the day, at the end of a length of time, we would have changed enough to represent this. Now, this is not cast in concrete. If we find that there's something else that we feel should be included, we would include it. If we find that, okay, the children or us have achieved all of this to a certain degree that we are quite happy with, we're excited with, we get an A++, we can remove it and replace it with another. We work towards another goal, right? Another character attribute. So you can have resilience, you can have love, you can have kindness, just character attributes that you want to represent your family, that you want to represent your children as the full-grown adult. Seeing our children as little can be a problem if we don't know that they're on a journey, and one day we will wake up, they will be fully grown, they will be out of the house, and the window would have closed. So don't let the window close. Make a list of family values that you want your children to embody, that you also will be held by, because it is important that you are a role model. Children learn more from what you do than from what you say. So let it be a guide, let it be a chart, let it be a direction, let it be a destination for you if it is not there yet. But make a list, write it down, make it plain, make it visible all around your house. So everywhere somebody turns, they are reminded. They want to act up or act funny, they see the family values. I'm a member of this family and I have to abide by those rules, abide by those principles. So, and then if you have younger children, explain it to them, break it down, make it simple, explain how they can embody these attributes to them. The other day, my son and I were having a conversation about service, and he wanted to know why service was not important. I was happy. I was happy to go on and on about how he could serve, and then I let him know that he's already serving. When you do something for your brother, you tidy, you wash his plates, you get him water, you look out for him, you're already serving. But now it's now important to do things for people that you don't know, people who can't immediately, they can't repay you, people who are even not aware, people who will not say thank you, and then you do things in service to God. God is happy when we serve other people. Like I said, we're Christians, so there's a God note, there's a God, what's the word I'm looking for? There's an undertone, all right, of Christian values in what we do and how we do things. If you're not a Christian, that's fine. They are all character attributes. They are all English words, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a God thing. But because we're Christians, I helped him understand that God is happy when we do things for others, when we're nice to people, even if it's just a smile, when we are friendly, when we are polite. God is happy when we treat other people well, because there's a bit of God in everybody. I am preaching right now, but it's okay. There's a bit of God in everybody. So when you treat somebody well, you're treating God well. When you see somebody and you're kind to them, you're being kind to God, because there's a bit of God in everybody. So I let him understand that, and he nodded and said, okay, I think I'm going to think about other ways that I can serve. Fantastic. My work is done, right? In that regard, at least for now, until he does something that is not welcome, that is not service-ish. Or maybe I say, can you please get water for your brother? And he complains, and I say, remember you said you're going to find ways to serve other people. And because there's a foundation, you can't spring values on children. There has to be a foundation. That's why you need to embody it first. You need to change, and you need to be on the way to changing. That's why when they point it out that you have done something that is contrary to those values, then your response is not, my friend, will you keep quiet? Your response is, okay, I apologize. I should not have done that. I should not have said that. I could have done this better. Because they are learning. So they see how you react. Your responses, your reactions are guided by these same principles. So they do something wrong, your child sees your reaction. When they repeat it, don't be surprised. They did not borrow it. They lived under your roof. You know, when I hear parents say, oh, this child is doing this, is do that. Hello, who raised said child? You. So take some responsibility. Change something. If it's not working, change it. Bend it, twist it, adjust something. You can't continue to do the same thing and be surprised that this child is still a certain way. If you're not happy with your child's responses or reactions to things, check yourself first, because the child learns it from someplace. Okay, if your child is shouting, for instance, hey, you are most likely shouting. If they are shouting at school, you need to talk to somebody. But you are most likely the person who exposed this child to this behavior. So when you begin to change and you find that you realize and accept that you need to change, then this child is seeing you and this child is growing too in that direction. So let's not absolve ourselves of responsibility in these things. Let's not act like we don't even know. This child did not drop from heaven. This child lived inside your house. Okay, the child there's something that you have done or not done that has resulted in this child's behavior. So let's change, let's grow, let's accept that we need to change and grow, and then this child can grow along. So when at a time you used to shout about something, when you stop shouting, this child will realize something has changed. And if you're lucky and you're still within in the window, the formative window, then the child can bend. And the formative window is also not cast in concrete. It is possible to help your child realize the better way of doing things, especially in the situation where you are the one that taught them the wrong things, right? It comes from you acknowledging it. So when you have a conversation with your child and you say, okay, I know we used to do things like this, but I think there's a better way. I found a better way. Can we adopt this way? This way that we speak to each other is not the best, right? And then because you know your child, you know how they learn, you know how they communicate. So you bring yourself to that place where your child understands what you're saying and you have an honest conversation. Will it be once, will it be twice? I can't promise you that. But I can tell you that when you start changing, your child will start changing along with you. So, family values. Character guide, code, guiding principle that we live by. Attributes that we want our children to exhibit as full adults, fully grown adults. Character attributes that we would like to see them embody. Why? Because we have an opportunity to change society. We have an opportunity to change the world. Yes, to change the world, because there are people who have been given the opportunity to address millions of people, and they say one thing and say 100,000 of the people in that audience take those words to heart and run with it. If you can impact 100,000 people in one speech, then you have practically changed the world. You don't know how far that child in your hand is going to go. You don't know what opportunities are in the future of that child. So put in the work now. Don't be the one who will raise the child that people will be saying, what is it? What's wrong with this man? This boss in the office that is mistreating his staff was raised by somebody. And not putting all the responsibility on their parents, because as a person grows up, the person is supposed to come to the realization that this is not it and find another direction. But the foundational problem could have been adjusted. So you have an opportunity. If you raise your children with clearly stated family value, you have an opportunity to use that arrow in your hand to send somebody into the future, to impact the future. If you have raised your child with compassion, you have raised your child with empathy, you have raised your child with hard work, with a resilient spirit, with an understanding of process. I'm not telling you a list of family values. Just you look for the words that describe these things that I'm saying. If it is important to you, okay, it has to be important to you, because if it is, then you will run with it and you will abide by it, even as a person. Also, why it puts it's a guiding principle for you. Yes, it helps you. It gives you a direction. It keeps you in check. Your reactions are measured. Your reactions are in this particular direction. The choices that you make are in this particular direction. So it gives you what's the word I'm looking for? It gives you a blueprint, okay, of the direction that you're going in. You're going in the direction of these values in these children. So that blueprint is what you follow. You don't step outside it. If your child does something contrary to the values, you bring them back. You say, no, you can't do that way. This is what you should do, because it contravenes the family values. But if it's okay, if it does not bother you, then you go. But when you don't clearly state it, then there's no direction. Okay. Also, people that visit you, people that are in your vicinity, it keeps them in check. Somebody is handling your children. If respect is your family value, then they have to respect your children. They don't speak to your children anyhow. You won't do it and you won't condone it. And then they are made aware immediately. Those family values are there for a reason. And then how do you deploy this? Also, like I said, it's a tool for discipline. You can remind your child what the family values are. Have them write an essay on why they contravened it and what they will do to mitigate such a situation in the future. You may read it, you may not read it, but you will help them think about it, process those words, and it will enter their hearts. Yes, it will. By God's grace, it will enter their hearts. And also, right, how do we deploy it? Write it down. Display it everywhere around your home. Put it in a frame, laminate it like I have done here. Put it all around your home. Let people, members of your family obviously, people that visit, be reminded. Let them see it constantly. Let it remind them. This is the expectation this family has of you. Stepping outside this is not a representation of what our family should be known for. Okay, so that's my encouragement on this live session. I hope something has been useful for you. I hope you will put it to use. I hope you will not forget it. I hope you put it in your left hand and use it. Make the time to use family values, be aware of family values, and deploy it effectively in your parenting journey. Thank you again for watching today. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And I'm available for discussions as a family life practitioner. I'm available for guidance. I'm available for parenting support. I'm available for counseling. And by God's grace, your children will turn out well. Thank you again for joining me. Do have a wonderful evening. Bye. Thank you, sis.